Welcome back, it's me, Lou. I'm here for another action figure unboxing and review, and today we are jumping into the time machine, and we're going back about 5 years, and we're going to take a look at this. This is the DC Comics Multiverse Wonder Woman Queen Hippolyta action figure, and this is from Mattel. This was part of their Wonder Woman toy line that was under the Multiverse banner, and we're looking at Wonder Woman's mom. So this is a figure that was on my radar when it first came out 5 years ago. It was part of Mattel's DC Multiverse line, and as some of you might remember, they featured a Build-A-Figure, so you had to collect all these figures in this wave, and then you'd be able to assemble Ares over here on the right. So some of the figures in this wave, there was Wonder Woman, but it was Wonder Woman wearing like the robe and the cowl. I think this is how she appeared during, was it World War I or World War II? And then over here we have Steve Trevor, and over here we have Princess Diana. It's Wonder Woman in her Amazonian outfit. And then number 4 is Queen Hippolyta, which is the figure we're reviewing right now. So yeah, this is a toy that it was on my radar years ago, but 5 years ago I think I was kind of diving into like Marvel Legends a little hardcore, and by the time this iteration of the DC Comics Multiverse figures came out, I was kind of like, I don't want to say I was completely done with it, but prior to this, as most of you might remember, that before it was called DC Multiverse, it was DC Classics. And then, yeah, by the time DC Classics was dying down, you know, I got a bunch of figures. I have a giant collection of those figures. And for me, the goal there was I just wanted all the major characters, enough characters to fill out the Justice League, the Justice Society, the Batman family, you know, all the more iconic villains, Flash's Rogue Gallery, you know, different iterations of the Joker, Harley Quinn, some of the fringe characters that aren't necessarily JLA, like, you know, like some of the galactic characters like Lobo, Darkseid, Orion. So I had this giant collection of DC Classics figures. So by the time they rebranded it as Multiverse, I was just pretty much done. And when they were doing the Multiverse, they were also not only dipping into like the comic roster, but they were also pulling characters from like the CW shows like Arrow and Flash. So there's a whole line of like Arrowverse figures, and then they were also doing Justice League, and I think Batman vs Superman figures. So this is the Queen Hippolyta figure, and like I said, it was on my radar years ago, but I just never picked it up. But I saw this on Amazon. It's marked down to like $9, and I figured, you know, why not, you know. So we're going to take a look at this figure. Before we begin, let's take a look at the packaging. So this was the Mattel's DC Comics Multiverse, not to be confused with the McFarlane one. This was produced back in 2016. It's from Mattel. The package, they went to a box design, whereas the Classics figures, they're on a cardon bubble. The Build-A-Figure pieces are hidden behind over there. Queen Hippolyta, she comes with a sword, she comes with a spear. A nice image, studio shot from the actress in the movie. Again, same photograph, I believe. It would have been nice if they included a bio, but I say that with every video, but it's true. You know, I'd appreciate it if they had a bio on the character. Alright, so let's take her out. I don't remember how these boxes open. I think they open from this side. Alright, on the inside we have this cardboard insert with the Wonder Woman movie logo. Looks really cool. I guess if you need something for like a backdrop or some shelf dressing for your display, you know, you could probably use this. Alright, so first impressions of Queen Hippolyta while she's still in the tray. The first thought that came to mind was it's a small figure. It's small by today's standards. Like in terms of a Marvel Legend, this is in the scale with a Marvel Legend. The DC Multiverse line was more of a 6-inch scale figure. But with the past few years, with McFarlane producing their DC Multiverse figures, you're looking at figures that range anywhere between 7 to 8 inches. So compared to a McFarlane female figure, this is much, much smaller. So she has her sword. She has her spear. Let's take those out. And here are the Build-A-Figure pieces for Ares. These look surprisingly small. I think, I was kind of spoiled by some of the older Build-A-Figures I think they were called Creative Figures with Mattel, for their DC Classics line. Like, there were some figures that were just gigantic. Like, Kilowog was ginormous. Darkseid was huge. But the pieces for this Ares figure, they look kind of small. But, this is based off the film version of Ares, so, maybe it's in proper scale with this figure. Alright, so we have Queen Hippolyta. This is Wonder Woman's mom. And for the longest time, I did not know how to properly pronounce her name. Back when I was in high school and I was reading some Wonder Woman books, anytime they mentioned Queen Hippolyta, I didn't know how to pronounce it. I always said Queen Hippolyta. That didn't sound right. But thankfully, in this day and age with Google and the internet, you can easily just Google, Google how do you pronounce this, and then it pulls up an audio file. And for me, it referenced Hippolyta. That's the way you pronounce it. You pronounce it Hippolyta. So yeah, Queen Hippolyta. It's a beautiful sculpt. Right off the bat, I'm looking at it, and even though this figure is a little bit dated by now, looking at something that's 5 years old, it's a really nice figure. And it was kind of a shame because I remember when this line was initially in the stores, some of them just kind of sat on the shelves. I think people that wanted these figures were more about just getting the normal standard Wonder Woman figure, and some of these other secondary characters kind of laid waste to the side. And the sculpt is beautiful. Her one arm is kind of stuck, which is pissing me off. Yeah, alright, so the bicep swivel here is fine, but the bicep swivel on her left arm, it's not happening for me. It doesn't want to twist. Shoot, it's really stuck. Dang it, that's a shame. Yeah, so I say this all the time. If you watch my videos, I run into stuck joints so often. It's not even funny. But I'll try to fix it later. But for now, let's just take a look at the sculpting on her. She's amazing to look at. This is a really thick plastic coat she's wearing. If you look at the thickness of this, it's really thick. And if you run your fingers across it, there's actually a fine micro texture over it. Her armor plating, it's done really well. Nice texture along the skirt. The armor kind of reminds me of Xena, the warrior princess from back in the late 90s, early 2000s, or Xena. I'm trying to see if this robe comes off. Let's see if we can take it off. So I'd like to see what she looks like this with the armor and not having the coat draped over her shoulders. Alright, yeah, it comes off. Alright, this is a cool accessory. Maybe this is something you could, if you wanted to, you could maybe incorporate into maybe your Marvel Legends. Like, I know there's a female Loki figure coming out on the horizon, or if you want, maybe like put this on Sylvie from Loki, and I don't know, it might look neat on her. And here's Queen Hippolyta. Really impressive figure. Now, I'm not sure if the proportions on her are correct, because just by looking at it, it does appear like her head's too large. Or either that or her legs aren't long enough. Like, her upper torso looks everything to be in proportion, same with her arms. But then her legs just look a little bit short. But I'm not sure if that's just the correct proportions of the actress, or if it's the skirt making her legs look shorter than they are. Either way, it's a really, really nice figure. In terms of articulation, the head rotates. Doesn't really look down, nor does it look up because her hair kind of gets in the way. Her arms rotate, bicep cut, bicep swivel. Single pinned elbow, so it doesn't really bend all that much. Very limited wrist articulation. It doesn't do anything but swivel. There's no ab crunch, this waist swivel. And this is kind of a harder material, so it's kind of harder for her to kick up without it getting in the way. And then she could kick out to the side also, but again, this gets in the way. The sword, it's nicely crafted, really, really nice, clean details, very sharp. The hilt is it's really thin, surprisingly. Let's see if I get in her hand. Alright, so her hand, the plastic's really snug. There we go. Let's get it in there. There's her sword. She has a spear. Nice tip on the spear. Nice details on it. Again, really tight, snug fit. I don't know. Yeah, so we have Queen Hippolyta. Very, very nice figure. It's definitely seen better days because, you know, it feels dated just by the, you know, the engineering. It doesn't do all the bells and whistles like, you know, we expect action figures to do nowadays, like especially with like double jointed elbows, double jointed knees. But in terms of the sculpting, I think the sculpting's superb. And yeah, it's definitely a product of its time. It's a great figure overall. Now, if I had to rate this figure numerically on a scale of 1 to 10, I'm going to say, all right, by today's standards, a 6. Now, that's just because it's very limited. It's a little bit smaller. And even compared to like a modern Marvel's Legend, I think that it kind of falls a little short. But for its time, if we took a time machine back, 5 years ago, I'd probably at least give it a 7 to 7.5. It's annoying me like crazy that this arm is stuck. I'm gonna have to fix that in a little bit. But overall, it's a nice figure. Do you need this for your collection? If you are all about collecting like the DC classics and the Mattel branded Multiverse figures from years ago, I would say yeah, why not? Towards the end of Mattel's Multiverse line, they started doing more movie characters and TV show characters. So if you wanted the characters that were based a little bit more in like real life, this would be fun to add to your collection, especially like if you have some of those older like Dark Knight movie master figures or the Ryan Reynolds Green Lantern figure. It's just kind of cool to have all the more realistic characters and actors and actresses, kind of in line with one another in their DC personas. Accessory wise, I think, you buy this figure for $9 off Amazon and you get this cool like cloak or robe or whatever it is, and you get these additional accessories. You can blend these in with other toy lines. So yeah, I think it's a decent figure. It's on sale on Amazon. At least it was when I bought it like a week or two ago. Alright, so let's wrap this video up. Once again, my name is Lou. Thank you so much for joining me as we took a trip back into time and looked at a figure that's 5 years old. Once again, a big thanks to all my subscribers and viewers. I thank you for your continued likes, comments, and support. And if you're new to my channel, welcome. I have lots of content, lots of action figure stuff. So feel free to like look around and check out all my videos. So until the next video, be safe, take care of yourself, buy lots of toys, and most importantly, be happy. And I'll talk to you later. Later.